What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Jimothy. Now, alongside my hero deck, this deck is probably my second most competitive deck, with my hero deck being first, and this deck is actually mekk-knight Invoked. Now, I really do enjoy this deck, and this deck I actually built before I finished my hero deck. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. So to start us off, we are playing triple Alistair the Invoker. Now, what Alistair allows you to do when it's normal summons, you get to add an invocation from your deck to your hand and to obviously pop off with your invocation plays. It also has a secondary effect that nobody really uses, and that is to target one of your invoked fusion monsters and discard this from your hand to the graveyard to give that monster 1000 attack until the end of the turn. Not very useful in that sense. We always use it to get invocation, but this is definitely one of your normal summons for the deck, and it is a 3 of must. Next, for the mekk-knights, we are running triple mekk-knight purple nightfall. Now, if you didn't know what this does, you can banish a mekk-knight, including himself, to add a mekk-knight card from your deck to your hand, excluding itself. Very useful card. Like to see it at 3. If you don't know what the mekk-knight summoning mechanic is, if there are 2 or more cards in the column, that's including your opponent's cards as well as your cards, you can special summon a mekk-knight from your hand into that column, making 3 in that column. So really useful. Definitely run it at 3. Next, we are playing double mekk-knight blue sky. I'm actually missing one of my mekk-knights. I don't know where it's gone. I did have 4 copies of this, but hey ho. So we're playing 2 at the moment, and mekk-knight blue sky, basically what it allows you to do is when it's special summoned to a column, you get to add mekk-knight cards equal to the number of opponent's cards in that column. So if your opponent has 2 cards in that column, you get to add 2 mekk-knights. Really good card. Definitely would play it at 3. However, I've only got 2 at the moment. Next, for the mekk-knights, we are running double mekk-knight indigo eclipse. Now, this card is crucial to some of your board lockdown. Now, mekk-knights can really swarm the board very quickly, but I've also got a control style to them as well, especially with some of these spell and trap cards that you run in this deck. It's really useful, and he is really integral to being able to lock your opponent out of certain card effects such as monster, spell or trap. So really good card. Next, we are running some cheeky one-offs. We have our mekk-knight vanilla, which is mekk-knight Avram, 2000 beta, one of the normal summons for the deck. Mekk-knight name, really good card. We're also running one mekk-knight yellow star, basically pops a spell or trap by banishing a mekk-knight from graveyard in the column. One mekk-knight red moon, and what red moon allows you to do is pop a monster. So yellow spells and traps, mekk-knight red moon is monsters. And then we also run, just for the mekk-knight name, mekk-knight green horizon. Green horizon allows you to do have some kind of recursion, so when it decides to attack a monster, you can recur one of your mekk-knights out of your grave. So definitely run those. Now, for some secondary support, I am running double Iron Dragon Tomaton. Fantastic card. It can actually provide a bit of a soft lock for you. So what Tomaton allows you to do is when there are 3 or more cards in a column, you can special summon this card to an empty column, and what it allows you to do is blow up cards in that column. So you need to be wary of where you're specialing it, because it can blow up your own cards, but it also blows up your opponent's cards. So what I tend to do is line this up with the extra monster zone. Now, obviously, with extra monster zone not being a thing so much in Master Rule 5, you can just put it anywhere you want. Anywhere there's a problematic monster that can be destroyed by card effects, you plop Iron Dragon Tomaton down, blows it up, and then on top of that, the zones in that column that occupy this column that Tomaton's in cannot actually be used. So really good card. Next, for some normal summons, we run one Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. Basically, when she's summoned, you can link her off. She only allows to be link summoned, and if she's sent to the graveyard via link summon, you can special her to your opponent's side of the field. So what I tend to do is open up with Ibli, and then I go into Salamangreat Almiraj, which allows me to special summon her to my opponent's field, which also allows me to set up a column, so I can put it anywhere I want on my opponent's field, and it allows me to play mekk-knights going first, basically. So definitely a one-off. Next, two cards that serve the same purpose. We have one Hyperia and one Capshell. Now what Hyperia does when it's normal summon, you draw one card. Simple as that. Very, very simple effect. And Capshell, when it's used for the material of a Link summon, Link monster, or a XYZ, or even a Synchro, you get to draw one card. So basically when he gets sent to the graveyard, you draw one. When he's normal summoned, you draw a card. And that's simply all these cards do. I have thought about bumping Hyperia up. I'm probably taking out the mekk-knight Nightmare Corrupt Ibli, but I just find Ibli's utility a bit more useful, so yeah. Next, for some generic support, we are running one Dino Wrestler Pankratops, one Ash Blossom Enjoying Spring, and one Gameciel the Sea Turtle Kaiju. Now with these, ladies and gents, these are interchangeable, these two anyway. Obviously Dino Wrestler Pankratops is at 1. He's always nice to see. Obviously he's a bit of a brick going first, but he's always nice to see late game as well. Ash Blossom Enjoy Spring, I do have another copy in my side. I can always put that in. She's basically here for Purgatrio, which I'll go through and I'll go through the extra deck. And Gameciel is just quick time spot removal. It's nice to see him because there's only a one other in this deck, so if I do see him, I make use of him. Next, ladies and gents, we are on to the spells, and what we play is 4 Alistairs basically, which is Magical Meltdown and Terraforming. So basically when you activate Magical Meltdown, you can add Alistair the Invoker from your deck to your hand. It allows for you to do your fusion summoning and allow your fusion and summoning to go unhindered, so your opponent can't activate cards in response to you fusion summoning. So this basically searches a field spell, and our field spell searches Alistair, so it's basically a 1-card combo. Really, really useful. Next, we are playing the Big Daddy Fusion himself, which is Invocation. Fantastic fusion card. Allows you your Alistair engine just to keep going, and that's the kind of my focus in this deck, is to make use of the Alistair the Invoker and the Invocation engine to try and beat down my opponent after I've kind of like grinding them out of resources. So Invocation, when it's activated, you can banish cards from your graveyard and your opponent's graveyard if you're summoning an invoked monster, and also you can shuffle one of your banished Alistair the Invoker back in, but you can add one Alistair the Invoker from your banished pile back into your hand if you shuffle an Invocation from your graveyard into your deck. So really, really good recursion. And again, like I said, when you normal summon Alistair, you add Invocation from deck to hand. So really, really useful. Only run it at 2. I do have 3, but I don't put 3 in because it's a brick if you see this in your hand and you don't see Alistair. On top of that, you don't want to see multiples in your hand, hence why I'm running it at 2. Next, we are running Double World Legacy Memory. Again, another side. I do have 3 of this. You can side in 3. I think that's 2's fine in my opinion. If I need 3, I definitely tend to put this in and just take out like a Pankratops or something like that, but definitely a 2 of. So basically what this card allows you to do is special summon a mekk-knight from deck, and your mekk-knight is returned to your hand in the end phase. So the target you normally use for this is mekk-knight Purple Knight 4, but we also can special summon mekk-knight Avram as well as our level 4, and then he gets added back to hand. So really, really useful. Only play it at 2. Next, for some mekk-knight source, we have one World Legacy Key. So basically what this does is negate traps that occur in the same column as a mekk-knight monster. Now hence why I said my Indigo Eclipse is probably really integral to the control style of this deck, because Indigo Eclipse can actually move himself from zone to zone as a quick effect. So if your opponent activate a trap card, you can chain Indigo Eclipse, move it to the same column that trap card activated in, and then you can negate it if you've got this face up on the field. So really, really good. It's also searchable in this deck, hence why I only play it at 1. Just for those back row hate decks. Next, we're also playing one Galaxy Cyclone. I'm trying to get a hold of another one of these. I find these really, really useful, especially as Mystic Mine seems to be a thing right about now, and this just kind of outs Mystic Mine. So what this does is targets a set card on the field, pops it. When it's in graveyard, you can also banish it from your graveyard to pop a face-up card on the field. So again, it deals with Mystic Mine, and it deals with on your opponent's back row. It's also a normal spell card, so you can actually set this and activate it in the same turn. So if you see this and a couple of mekk-knights, you are good to go, because you can actually start playing the game. So yeah, definitely a 1 of. Next, just for a bit of utility, 1 Monster Reborno, 1 Mind Control, and 1 Call by the Grave. Again, this is just an easy side, depending on what type of matchup I'm playing. If I'm seeing a lot of players playing a lot of hand traps, I will just bulk this up. Like I said, this is actually in my side deck, and I've actually got the other 2 copies in my side deck, just because I want to make sure that my combos go through. Mind Control is an easy side out, but it's a one of anyway, as well as Monster Reborn, which is just an extender. So yeah. Next, for the traps, we are playing 1 World Legacy Whispers and 1 World Legacy Secrets. Again, these are in my side, ladies and gents. Now, Secrets is an absolutely fantastic card. So what Secrets does is it allows you to negate the monster effects of your opponent's monster effects that occur in a column with a mekk-knight card in it. Again, we can chain Purple Nightfall to any kind of effect that our opponent does with a monster, but whilst this is face up on the field, and just basically negate that. It also allows you to revive a level 5 or higher monster in your grave. So we normally use our when we go into mekk-knight Morning Star to discard a mekk-knight, and then we bring it back with World Legacy Secrets, because we can actually use the discard fodder to set secrets and then set secrets and then revive one of our monsters that we discarded. Really good. Again, World Legacy Whispers. So this is basically the spell negate for mekk-knights. Very similar effect to this, so it negates a spell that's activated in the same column as a mekk-knight monster. So really good control game. If opponents see this, they're trying to out these 2 real quickly. Again, if there's a lot of back row removal, I'll probably side in 1 or 2 and take out some of the other cards. It is a 40 card deck, by the way. Next, for some generic support, we have 1 Lost Wind, 1 Heavy Storm Duster, and 1 Waking the Dragon. Bit of spicy tech here, ladies and gents. Bit of a spicy tech. So Lost Wind, basically this is really useful for a column, because it can obviously recur itself out of the graveyard to set itself again, which provides columns for myself. Heavy Storm Duster, I literally put this in for some back row removal. On top of, I've had a few players that flipped Imperial Decree on me and stopped my spells from going through. So this is just a good way to out that, as well as Waking the Dragon. We have a couple of targets in our deck for this, but it's really good to see whenever I use this card in this deck, it gets popped, mainly because they know you're playing mekk-knights and I want to get rid of your columns. So if you see you setting back row, they're looking to get rid of it, and this is just a great target for that. So yeah. Next, we are on to the extra deck, ladies and gents. Now, we are playing 1 Lingeribo. So we can actually use this for our Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, who is actually a Cyberse. So really useful. It negates the first trap that your opponent activates by tributing itself. So yeah, a one-off. Also gives us a column. We also play 1 Salamangreat Almirage. Again, this goes great with Alistar. Allows you to make a column, especially as you've got Invocation in hand. So you normal summon Alistar, link it up with Salamangreat Almirage, set the Invocation in the column below it, and then you've got a column there for your mekk-knights. That's if you're going first. So yeah, great card. Allows you to go first in this deck. Next, we are playing 1 mekk-knight of the Morning Star. When this is summoned, you get to discard a card and add 1 World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. So you are searching for your World Legacy Secrets, your World Legacy Whispers, any of your World Legacy cards basically. It also prevents destruction by battle with a monster that is not in the same column as a mekk-knight monster, and you take no battle damage. So this card is absolutely fantastic. People that don't know about mekk-knights will read this card because they just don't know what is happening, ladies and gents. Fantastic card. I potentially would bump this up to 2 actually in this deck, but I haven't actually had any recent testing because I was waiting on my World Legacy Secrets to arrive, and I haven't tested it much, but potentially this is a 2-of in this deck, ladies and gents. Next, we're playing 1 mekk-knight Spectrum Supreme. Fantastic card when it's in the monster zone and it points to no monsters, can't be targeted, can't be destroyed by card effects. Fantastic, can attack directly if it's the only card in its column. So it just pairs well with the deck. It's a bit of a beat stick as well at 3k. So yeah, very useful card. Next, for our invocation engine, we are playing one Alistair the Invoker of Madness. Counts as Alistair the Invoker, so obviously when you're sent to graveyard, you can also add a Omega Summon or Book of the Law. Fantastic card, allows you fusion plays to just go through, and it takes 2 monsters with different attributes, different types as well, so it's just fantastic card. Next, just for some generic links, we have one Triple Burst Dragon. Triple Burst is, what can I say, just negates an effect that occurs in the battle phase, and it does piercing damage. I basically threw it in for a bit of generic support. Again, like I said, I'm still messing around with the extra deck, and I'm probably going to do an updated list where I take this out, but for now it's staying in link free, generic. Next, onto our invocation. We are playing one Invoked Mekk-knight. You all know what Mekk-knight does now. Discard a card that matches the type of effect that is activated on your opponent's side of the field. So if it's a monster, you discard a monster. If they activate as a spell, you discard a spell. Once per turn, great beat stick, easy to make in this deck, mainly because most of our mekk-knights are light monsters. So yeah, it's basically your first turn play is to get Mekk-knight out along with one of your mekk-knights. Next, we have Invoked Kaliga. He just says no to monster effects, and your opponent cannot activate any monster effects for the rest of that turn. Also, each player can only attack with one monster. So typically, you special summon him into defense position because he's only got 1000 attack and 1800 defense. But really useful card. Again, it stuns players out. They're sometimes not aware of what's going on, especially when they have to read this card. So yeah, useful. Next, the OTK machine, which is Invoked Purgatrio, allows you to attack every single monster your opponent controls, and it gains attack equal to the number of cards your opponent controls. It also does piercing damage. So literally, if your opponent's got like 3 or 4 monsters on field, you can Purgatrio, punch over all of them and attack with the rest of your mekk-knights for games. I've done this so many times, especially with Salamangreats. Yeah, fantastic card. We also run one Invoked Cocytus or Cocytus. This is fantastic. It's basically a bit of a defensive play, just in case you find yourself in a sticky situation and you need to stall out to get a few cards in your hand. So you can special summon in defense position. It can attack from defense position, and it applies its attack as the attack value, but it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So it's really useful in a pinch. I tend to go into this late game if they've managed to clear my board somehow, and I've got the ability to. So yeah, definitely a one-off in my opinion. Next, we've got a few flex spots in this extra deck. As I said, I've recently received it and I'm trying to test things out. We've got a second Mekk-knight there. We've also got Invoked Raging and Invoked Elysium. So Raging is basically a Book of Moon. So simple as that. It can Book of Moon one of your opponents so they can't link, or they can't go into XYZ. It's a fantastic card. Also got Invoked Elysium, just a big beat stick realistically. It can match one of the elements in your graveyard, and it's also 5 elements on field. So sorry, not elements, attributes. So really useful in terms of a big beat stick, and it can kind of stall out again for a couple of turns just while you get yourself sorted if they manage to clear your field. But I tend to go into Raging a lot more than I do Elysium, but it's always there as a option. And finally, or semi-finally, we have one Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. This is my Waking the Dragon target. So it is a 3500 beat stick that unaffected by card effects. Simple as that, ladies and gents. When people see this hit the field, it's just a problem. So it's literally there for Waking the Dragon, and I actually play another Waking the Dragon in my side just to see this a lot quicker, because like I said, when you play mekk-knights, people don't want you to make columns and they'll try and pop your back row. So this is just really useful. Next, for my 15th card and a little bit of an honorable mention, we have Sideframe Lord Omega and we have the Gamma package, ladies and gents. Now again, this is a bit of a flex spot. It bumps my card count up to about 44. Again, I haven't had opportunity to fully test it because of the crush card virus. because I was waiting on some gammas to be delivered again. But Lambda in this deck basically allows you to use your side frame cards even though you've got monsters on field. And it's really easy to make, so it's just 2 monsters except tokens, and this basically is a monster negate whilst putting 2 materials on field. So if you manage to go into your Lambda first and then start carrying on with your plays, you can't get Nibiru because side frame or Gamma says no to Nibiru whilst putting two materials on field. So really useful cards. And that is it, ladies and gents. Would you change anything? Let me know in that comment section below. Like I've said throughout the video, I'm still in a bit of the testing flux because of the crush card virus. I haven't been able to test physically, and I prefer to do that as opposed to playing on simulators like YGO Pro or Dueling Book. But I do participate on those simulators, and I've got something coming up on the channel very soon regarding those, so keep an eye out. But anyway, ladies and gents, we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you did like this content, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.